It's Wizards versus Lesbians, a podcast for your ears. Hello and welcome to Wizards versus Lesbians. My name is Isaac.
I'm Alexis.
And today is our 7th or 8th short fiction roundup, I would say.
Yeah, I stopped keeping track, but it's another short fiction roundup. Yay.
We are recommitting our commitment. We are recommitting our commitment. We're recommitting our commitment. We're redoubling our commitment.
I hope you live this whole thing in.
Sure. We're doubling down on our commitment to short fiction as the sort of germ culture of SF, and
thus we are reviewing some of it.
we like to see what's bubbling up, now and again. Today's books were all, or today's stories were all recommended by folks. So thank you for your recommendations.
And by folks who aren't Lee, which is,
Yes, Lee has been our prime mover on short fiction. But they are Closer Than Your Kidneys by Ursula Witcher, Bride Butcher Doe by Lori Paletti, and There's a Door to the Land of the Dead in the Land of the Dead by Sarah Pinsker.
Yeah.
So we're going to start by discussing Closer Than Your Kidneys, a story which contains lesbians, certainly.
Yes. Wizards is iffy.
Yes.
I think it's more of a wannabe wizards kind of... There's a wannabe wizard.
Yes, there's a guy. There's a
There's
dude.
a guy.
There's a man. Shall we do little plot summaries for these?
Yeah, well, let's do micro plot summaries. So Tashnur is in a sort of quasi corporate feudal space world, like spaceship culture, is sent to assassinate the Khanim of the spaceship, and instead ends up becoming her bodyguard. And the rest of the story is about the ramifications of this decision.
Yeah, perfectly encapsulated. And there are lesbians. There's kind of a wizard, kind of not. They're in conflict. Yeah. I think that this one is more interesting from a wizards versus lesbians perspective because despite the fact that the narrator mentions that she does not wear gloves, this is Glove Kink Cinematic Universe stuff.
This is absolutely Glove Kink Cinematic Universe. I mean, when you pay attention to what's going on with the gloves or lack thereof, you're already getting there. So exactly.
Sometimes the absence of a glove, when remarked upon, is as telling as the glove itself. And we're very much downstream from your Nine Foxes and from your
Ratch.
Your Ratch. The Ratch is present here. But beyond that, it's interesting, I think, largely just because of the way that it treats its primary relationship.
Yeah, I would agree. And we'll get into that. Bride Butcher Doe. Do you want to do the summary this time or shall I?
Oh my God. Well, that's slightly more of a challenge.
I can do it if you want.
I'll give it a try. The butcher is tasked with keeping her mistress / girlfriend alive, and keeping her beautiful. And she does this via treating her with doe extract,
unicorn extract.
Yes, they're not ever referred to as unicorns, despite the fact that they're clearly unicorns.
Yes.
They're horned deer who live on this island.
Single horned deer who only they're unicorns. Okay.
Am I doing this summary or what?
I'm sorry. I just want to make it clear that they're very much unicorns.
Yes, they're unicorns. She can't approach them if she's not a virgin. They're unicorns. But when she's and she has a tempestuous relationship with her mistress / client, but / girlfriend /
girlfriend who she's not allowed to fuck.
Yes, girlfriend who she can't have sex with, until she meets a wizard out in the woods.
Yep.
And things get very complicated very quickly. Yes, things get much messier. This one does contain both wizards and lesbians.
Sure does.
And they are in conflict.
Yeah, no, this is some classic Wizles right here.
Mm-hmm. All right, and the third.
Um, it's a bit of a change of pace. Vera is a queer, I think, queer girl.
It's
And
implied.
who has it's implied, who having kind of given up on all of her ambitions has found herself in rural northwestern Georgia working at a sketchy tourist trap kind of place called the Land of the Dead, and her lesbian mentor slash crush slash coworker, in order to cheer her up after she has found out that her ex is dating someone else, decides to show her another secret thing about the Land of the Dead.
Yes.
And you can probably guess what that is from the title.
Yes, that is correct. There are no wizards in this one. There are queer women. The word queer is used, and there's no conflict to speak of in this book in this story because this one is cozy.
Yeah.
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 I would say so.
It's not as aggressively cozy as some, but yes, this is definitely the coziest of the three.
Indeed. Which is it's fun. It's funny that this is the one from Psychopomp, which is the online mag dedicated exclusively to stories about death and dying. But it's certainly the cuddliest of these three stories. So shall we do? Let's do content warnings individually before we plunge into each. Partially just because the content warnings on Bride Butcher Doe are, whew.
Yeah.
All right, so getting back to Closer Than Your Kidneys, sort of content warnings, a certain amount of violence, some coercion.
The romantic relationship with some power dynamics.
Yes, but nothing too serious, I think.
Nothing too serious.
Shall we get into it?
Yeah, let's.
Spoiler zone. All right. So yeah, no, it's this one did seem very Nine Foxy to me, in its ideas, if not in its execution.
Well, definitely not. It's not as quite as weird as the Machineries of Empire, but it definitely had that. Definitely had those power dynamics and assassination and spaceships.
Yes,
it's a little bit more cyberpunk influenced, and instead of it feels like instead of being Korea influenced, it's Central Asian influenced.
We have our Khanim or Khanim, as you said. We have the ships that are sort of semi-living creatures in their ship blood and the new generation of bone ships that they want to build. So we're sketching out a cyberpunk culture, like spacefaring culture, that's at least a little bit, weird with it as far as biotechnology goes.
Yeah, and it's a little bit cyberpunky in that there's, this is all like corporate hierarchies,
Sure.
There's like just in there's definitely the corporation owns you. You have fealty to the corporation. And I guess actually the thing that made it more cyberpunky to me is that like profit and loss statements were actually directly plot relevant.
Yes. This is a story about business. Business and trade.
This is a story about business from the perspective of somebody who doesn't really know or care about business, but thinks that the executive woman is super hot.
Yes. She's her decision making is almost entirely based on the hotness of her problematic mistress again. Which is sort of like the core of the story in terms of what makes it interesting. Although I will say that for such a short story, it does manage to flesh out its setting, I think, very thoroughly, which I think is admirable in its economy.
Yeah, no, actually, I enjoyed this story partly because, like you said, it really economically just delivers a lot, and even like the character dynamics managed to be interesting because there is this sort of tension of who is she going to stay with, who's she going to side with at any given point, and and her motivations for that keep changing. Like initially it's okay, well there's this nanobot thing in my bloodstream, and if the Khanim dies, then I die, so I guess I'm now her bodyguard. And then, there's all the romantic / sexual tension going on between them, and so that's kind of her reason, or at least, even while she's still pretending that it's the dart. And then the nanobot excuse gets taken away, and she has to decide, partly, is this woman hot enough to forgive for lying to me? But I think there's also an element of, who do I think has the better economic plan for the next 20 to 80 years?
Yes.
And fortunately for our protagonist, it's the hot lady.
It is a very corporate story in a sort of a very funny way. And you say that she has to make this decision, but she has to make that decision like over the course of maybe 30 seconds.
Right, yes.
When it is revealed to her that the nanotechnology that she thinks is close to her kidneys does not in fact exist.
And also, her former corporate boss is pointing a gun at her new boss, so...
Yes. No,
But she has a sword. This does also have, somebody bringing a knife to a gunfight and winning.
It's a spaceship. I mean, I will say that there are no beats in the story that I've not encountered elsewhere.
Yes.
The stuff about, don't shoot a gun inside a spaceship, you idiot.
Right.
And the braids that tell the story of the person, and, all of this stuff it's a bit of a magpie's nest of concepts that I've come across other places, but
I thought it was it's well executed, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
there's nothing new under the sun.
Right. And this is definitely, I think that in some ways that's kind of the selling point of this story is, okay, well, all of those things that you've enjoyed, well, here they are packed neatly into one nice quick read.
Exactly.
You've got kneeling, you've got, you've got sensual hair cutting, and
yes, and you can definitely see many stories spinning out of this setting. If you so desired, you could set a computer game in this setting. You could set a BioWare game in this setting.
Yeah, you could also write a novel in this setting.
You could write a novel in this setting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is probably slightly more likely to happen. But I'm interested in the moral universe that is being presented here, because we do have the sort of initial choice, which is that her ex. I suppose we should say that there are bisexuals in this story rather than lesbians.
That's true.
Is that her ex has gotten a family permit, so is going to be able to have a kid and is going to go off, presumably to some agrarian redoubt or a planet even, and raise the kid, and so she sort of has to think about her life and her decisions, and she does end up deciding that what she really wants to do is to sort of be the bodyguard / handmaiden to this powerful but hot woman who has no compunction about lying to her.
Bodyguard / handmaiden / lover by the end. So
right, exactly, and it's a sort of it feels like a very sort of integrated corporatist moral to take away from it.
I mean, to be fair, the Khanim is lying to her to save her own life because, she was sent there to assassinate her.
Oh yeah, no, I mean the Khanim certainly had her reasons, and we don't really get much of a sense of the Khanim's personality, unfortunately, outside of she's hot and she's
hot and good at economics.
Exactly. And she's a disruptor, she wants to get rid of this decades old corporate culture and bring in new innovative technologies that'll change the very way that they do business. And that is perhaps the most sexually alluring thing of all.
But part of that is that, and this is where she's less of a disruptor, is that she actually cares about long-term sustainability. I mean, this is also kind of, it is also kind of about creating a corporate culture that isn't utterly destructive. So,
I also found it interesting the way that that planet dwellers were referred to in this book, because it is a, or why do I keep calling them books, in this tiny little bite-sized booklet, because it is that, I think, was a bit of an innovation, because I've definitely come across many iterations of like the Spacer's contempt for the planet bound, but there's definitely a they mentioned that like nobody who is born on a planet could ever possibly want to leave a planet. Like the fleet dwellers just seem to be of a different class or caste than people who live on planets, and they seem to be less
it's nomads versus settled people.
Oh, but with the Khanate, of course. How silly of me. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. This is brought up in the context of how, the question of who the Khan could possibly, or the Hanim could possibly love, because the circumstances that would bring her an equal or somebody who was not in some way a conflict of interest just would not happen. And so there's also a sort of a noble and self-sacrificing element to our hero's desire to sort of be her emotional helpmeet.
Mm-hmm. So the other thing about, again, this is something that the story does well for packing stuff in, is that meeting up with her ex / good friend, or at least they were until she defected, Tashnur defected. But the is that it is made very clear that the reason that he is talking with her is so that he can talk about all the good things that are happening in his life as a sort of lure to dangle to get her back.
Yes.
And also that there's sort of this reciprocal threat of something bad could happen to him. Like, there's still people she cares about on the other side, where you get sort of her desperation to do not tell him that you told me about this one planet that will really help the Khanim's economic plans. That could both ruin things for me and also possibly get you killed.
Basically, the thing that I'm coming across here is that setting is fun, story is fun, it's interesting. But the thing that sort of gets the least attention is the romance, which is sort of also the thing that the plot hinges around.
See, I think that the romance is kind of is more like Tashnur's reward for making the right choice than the reason that she makes the right choice.
I see.
Because the thing that's getting all this attention is this idea of who has the sustainable vision for our culture, who's going to be, what's going to last us 80 years, and it's, and so it's that person, versus the guy who brought a gun onto a spaceship.
Yes, the idiot, the person who doesn't, the Khan who doesn't know his way around a horse.
Right, and like, who we already know she hates from the get-go.
Yes, so all in all, kind of a conservative tale, but not in a negative way. Just I think that sets it up mostly as an interesting comparison to the next story that we have to discuss. I didn't really have any jingles for that last story, so to make up for it, I'll play this public service announcement by the Uncluded, which links the last story with this coming one. It's important to give away your pieces in the details surrounding your death. There will always be a need for the pieces you are made of. You may one day need a few pieces yourself. Be an organ donor. So, Bride Butcher Doe. A bit of a different kettle of fish.
This one's a little less... charming is probably not the word... I enjoyed this, but charming is not the word I would use to describe this one.
No, this one wants to get under your skin in more ways than one, I would say.
Yes. So this one contains its own list of content warnings.
Indeed, as befits a Strange Horizons story. And I shouted out Strange Horizons on our B Sky because they're doing their annual fundraiser right now. But they consistently bring us excellent Wizards versus Lesbians short fiction.
It's true. Yeah, they're definitely one of the incubators for this microgenre. Um, so this rundown, this is lists abortion / miscarriage, animal cruelty / death, blood, cancer, death of a pregnant person, drug use, and sex. I would also add bestiality to this.
Yes, and sexual assault.
And sexual assault.
Even this a remarkably long list doesn't quite cover the whole thing. And it has a very gory illustration directly above the content warning.
Right.
But
it's a good one though. Honestly, I was great. I feel like in a way that illustration is a more effective content warning than the list of content warnings. Because, you could have a story that contains all of the things listed in the content warnings, but that is nonetheless actually quite cozy. But you look at that picture and you actually get a sense of what you're about to get yourself into.
Precisely.
There's also some body horror. There's definitely some, transformational body horror stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's maybe the first thing on the list is the body horror.
Highly sexualized, kidney surgery or liver surgery. I can't remember. Liver surgery.
Yeah. So this one takes place in a sort of a fictional aesthetic milieu that feels very comfortable to me. Which is it's very gender. It's very trans. It's very furry. It's very we're investigating the flesh, and we're not really bothering to distinguish between sexual orifices and wounds. It's sort of whatever trans permutation that exists, whatever penetration that exists, we're basically treating with on the same kind of metaphorical language, which is definitely sort of a it's not necessarily a nice place to hang out, but it's a very sort of, it feels to me like a very sort of coherent, sort of aesthetic footprint, and this is just a beautiful exemplar of that. The word for the aesthetic of Bride Butcher Dough is meatcore. I'm going to insist on that, even though I'm the only one who ever uses that word. I wrote a song about meatcore at one point. Inside the crisis I wait. God put the answer on the soles of your feet. God put the answer in your meat. And so on. Basically just raw flesh. So let's do exciting things with it.
Yes. And also, I really appreciate that the story manages to have the feudal aristocracy, but also ambient EDM.
Oh, yeah. No, that's great. There's this one. It's another, a trick that I always enjoy, which is the jarring mismatch of pop culture references and fantasy world building. Which, we can recall from things that we did. There's some of that in in Battle of the Linguist Mages and that kind of stuff. It's a very sort of, it feels very gonzo in the same way that all the Flesh stuff feels very gonzo.
Or for that matter, the Ninth
House books that's probably the more apposite reference, because the Ninth House books also has a lot to do with this, but this is lusty in a way that the Ninth House books aren't. The Ninth House books are mostly about people not having sex for various reasons.
Yes.
And this one is all about somebody who textually must be a virgin, but the sex is happening
nonetheless, yes,
all around her at all times. It's like the entire world becomes sex, but she can't touch it. Or else she'll lose her job, which is like how she frames it when she's talking to the the hermit slash wizard slash prisoner slash doe.
Yes. Yeah, well, actually, one of the things I really liked about the world building in this one is that you kind of get the impression that it's just this island that's a feudal aristocracy. Like, the rest of the world is just being the rest of the world. But because this island has functional immortality for the super wealthy, you can have this hereditary aristocracy.
Yeah, no, it felt to me like we were in Ibiza, or like we were on some party island, one of the places that the European gentry essentially go to play. We're in like a very rich European micronation,
Right.
and there where one parties all of the time, at least if one is a young person. There's a sort of
and it is possible, if one is wealthy enough, to be a young person forever.
Exactly.
Which is part of why what's her face is Lady Ede Genevieve is such a horrible mess.
One of the interesting things about Ede, it is suggested that she is older, like she would be older than the butcher's grandmother, years wise, but nonetheless, like her eternal youth not only is in her, like it's not only in her face and in her body, but it's also in her social position.
Right, because her dad's also immortal.
Exactly. So she is in this sort of horrible, endless, like disaffected and lost early 20s. I'm never actually going to...
I don't even think it's early 20s. She's still sneaking out. I think she's like 16 or 17.
Right.
Like, imagine being stuck in your late teens for living with your parents forever, and also you get married to somebody who you can't have sex with, who, like, essentially massages you with unicorn oil.
A series of somebodies.
Because they get old and die.
Yeah. Who are not hired by her also.
Right. But who who live with you, and...
Right. So it is no wonder that Ede is insane.
Right.
It feels like, as with everything here, it feels like an amplified to the point of distorted, like image of something, but it is like it's sort of a deep fried JPEG of an extremely rich, drugged out aristocrat girl, but it's still like the type and the milieu is still very recognizable.
Yeah.
And so it has that ring of truth about it that keeps this from becoming just a complete nightmare hallucination of a story, which it might threaten to do otherwise.
Yeah.
But yes, no, she's a needy girlfriend who stalks and texts you 17 times and throws a tantrum when she can't find you, and self-harms and threatens to...
Yep, breaks all your stuff.
Yeah, and it is a very different kind of relationship to an aristocrat that we got in Closer Than Your Kidneys.
Right. Well, Closer Than Your Kidneys is basically written for people who find that sort of thing hot, and Bride Butcher Doe is not.
No.
I'm sure that I'm sure there are people who find this relationship hot, like reading it, but it's a little more of a stretch.
In Closer Than Your Kidneys, it feels like hot and also an admirable way of life.
Right.
To be the secretary / lover to a powerful woman, whereas this one is like, what kind of powerful woman were you talking about?
Right.
It's certainly, sexy things happen, here between the two of them. There's no question about that, but it's
she gets sensually massaged every day. And
yes, but her kidneys also get sensually massaged.
Liver, I think. It was liver because
yes.
It was liver because she wanted to be able to metabolize drugs in a different way.
Yes. no, it's actually quite membranesy in that as well.
Yeah, it is.
Which is, I mean, the membranes is going to be like the book that I compare to everything for a while, but maybe this is more along the lines of the Ninth House than we're giving it credit for. The sex is equally terrifying in this story. We're just, I don't know, in it more. The thing that is forbidden to the butcher, or another thing that is forbidden to the butcher, as well as sex, is using the deer blood serum on herself. And when she is tempted by the wizard slash the doe, the thing that really, the thing that he can offer that really gets to her is the possibility of changing her own body. Although she is not interested in changing her own body the way that Ede is interested in changing her body.
Right. She's not interested in becoming more and more conventionally attractive.
Or leading the concept of what is conventionally attractive.
That's true. But when you're leading the concept of what is considered conventionally attractive, you're still usually working within certain boundaries.
Yes, and what the butcher wants to do is to give herself an extra mouth and scales and fur, and to become monstrous, to become queerer and more monstrous.
Yes, of course, Ede also, because Ede is also transforming her.
Yes, and Ede wants to transform her into herself, basically.
Right.
Into the what will be the hot look next year, and I think it may possibly be that final overstepping, because it is actually even beyond the bounds of what is supposed to be the rules of this world, that decides that pushes the butcher to go back and get the good stuff and start changing herself the way that she wants to be changed.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's partly the sort of overstepping the bounds. I think it's partly realizing that, that she wants to do this to make Ede happy. Realizing that she has developed enough of a codependent relationship, reciprocally codependent relationship with this woman, that when this woman is like, yes, let's do something that you could be executed for because I want to make you prettier, and she actually finds that gratifying even though she doesn't want to.
No, you're absolutely right. It is her realizing that she may actually be genuinely in love with this woman that is just the most alarming possible thing.
Which is reasonable.
Which is reasonable, because there is no good ending for the butcher.
Right.
I mean, there's no good ending for the butcher, period, because of
right.
the society that she exists in. But certainly if she goes down the path of really thoroughly becoming Ede's girlfriend, and presumably then succumbing to her desire for sex, because she's already, given into one, sort of bodily violation in a way that was kind of that she wanted but didn't want.
Right.
She's going to end up unable to do her job, and therefore is going to be sort of consumed by Ede and then replaced by the next person down the line. But what she does instead is that she kills her.
Yeah.
She butchers her, in fact.
First she accepts. So the first time that the wizard tempts her with, bring me the corpse of your mistress and I will set you free, and which is partly why, I think that realizing that she's in love with Ede is what is her breaking point, because at first she's like, I am free, even though she's obviously not. And then when she comes back after that, the second time, then she lets him tempt her with, giving her the unicorn leg, which is just ripped off the unicorn and then grows right back.
I love how squishy everything in this story is. Everything is so gooey and gross. It's wonderful.
It is great. It is, which is partly why I keep calling them unicorns, is because I think that juxtaposition, really works.
Yes.
So, But anyway, he offers her. Well, it's funny because he offers her, first of all, something that is, makes her super horny, which is just like the unicorn blood.
The sort of this story is very interested in the way that like the desire for freedom and the desire for personal transformation is similar to the desire for sex. That
yes.
This desire to act upon your own body is I think
it's bodily autonomy.
Right, exactly, which is a matter of sexual autonomy almost by definition. And certainly we're in this sort of hypercharged environment here where all of this is going to come to the surface. But yeah, no, what he offered when he is listing out the things that he is offering her with this unicorn haunch, it includes like, do you want a penis? Do you want a cock? He asks.
Do you want a second womb?
Yeah, do you want to transition? Do you want to, do the secret double hyper transition? Do you want to become, do you want to transform from F to F plus? Right. Do you want to become a furry? Do you want to become a monster? What do you want? It's this will to freedom, that is
right.
That is really caught up, particularly, I mean, maybe not inherently, but certainly politically and in the culture that we live in. The goal of personal autonomy is so often about fucking who you want, how you want, with the body that you want,
Yeah.
And this story is about that.
Absolutely, yeah. And then it's, and this I think also is something that we kind of see in the Glove King cinematic universe, which is this idea that desire and love can themselves, particularly in the Locked Tomb books, that like desire and love can themselves be imprisonment that you need to break free from.
Yes, no, it definitely has that in common here. It is, the Butcher's sort of, like obligate celibacy is in a way her genuine key to freedom at the end, because and her unwillingness to actually become entangled with Eid, even though, I mean, it was like the most extreme case. It's like clearly falling in love with this woman is a death sentence,
right? And then Eid keeps crossing these boundaries. First with the unicorn oil, and then with the serum, but like the thing that actually makes everything resolve in horrible blood and gore, is that Eid keeps insisting, no, we have to have sex, we have to have sex, we have to have sex. And, the Butcher's like, I can't, I will lose my job. And right. In the process of, of really pressuring her, Eid discovers that she has given herself scales in a mouth and her belly and things like that.
Yes. Running your hands underneath your lover's shirt and being disgusted by what you find there.
Right, exactly.
The changes that have taken place. And
then at that point, that's when she's like, you're disgusting, you're going to die. Which, incidentally, is similar to The City in the Middle of the Night. That also has a scene of... It's a little bit reversed because the love interest / psychopath was never seemed particularly attracted to our main character in the first place. But right. That same sort of thing of, oh, I discovered your body. Oh, I'm so horrified. You have to die now. And, which, again, super trans. But, and that's when, so like, the Butcher has so many different reasons to kill Eid at this point. It's to, this one is to save her own life, and one is because, one is like to save her heart-ish, to save herself from
to save her autonomy,
yeah, to save her autonomy from like her own, but like specifically to save her autonomy from her own desires.
Yes.
And then having done that, she's like, well, I guess I will take this to I will take this to the prisoner because he did ask me to, so clearly he can give me some sort of direction for what I'm supposed to do next now that I have butchered my girlfriend.
Yes. And as you pointed out earlier, it is very interesting that she frees herself. It is her desire that is pushing her toward Eid, and it is that desire that she's reacting against. But on the other hand, it is a very sort of base and pre-verbal form of desire that the wizard uses to tempt her.
Right.
It's a like an animal desire rather than a sort of a personal attachment to another human being or whatever Eid is at this point.
Right.
I speak. Another thing about Strange Horizon stories is they often teach me new words. This one is chatoyancy potentially, or hatoyancy. The cells, Eid's liver cells are sort of form themselves into a cat's eye, which is what that means. Formation under the microscope, which suggests that Eid is becoming something else.
Well, has been, I think, becoming something else for a long... At this point, she's so tired of being a conventionally attractive human that, like, she's slowly turning herself into a cat girl.
So, do we have anything to say about the sort of the ending and the lore, the way that the wizard who first appears in like what seem to be actual wizard robes and then appears nude and priapic and finally reveals himself to actually be one of the old unicorn, one of the old heads of the Doe families,
right,
who's been imprisoned. This is the part that I make the least of. Beyond it feeling just like a bunch of very powerful symbols stacked up next to each other.
Well, I mean, it is, this is your trans elder, quite literally.
That is true. I suppose that is true. He this is a very violent way to have one's egg cracked, I suppose.
Well, and it's the thing is that it's ambiguous, right? Because everything is from within the butcher's point of view, and so she's using he, but what the wizard says is, that, it was a doe, and that she, and that I guess in that case, she lost her fur, her hooves, her horn, her heart, even her womb, and she's been trying to change back, and can't, and then she does. She changes back into a doe. So, like, this is one of those trans in which directions stories.
This is true, and it's also just interesting to me that the doe is so is so wizard coded, and it's like we very rarely get wizards who get the power, who get the power that they seek or the power. Yeah, he definitely wins in this one.
He absolutely wins.
And it's generally
one of the lesbians is dead, and he has just rolled himself all in her organs.
Yes.
And the other one is definitely going to need to run for her life.
Finally, a little bit of equal time. We don't get enough wizards versus lesbian stories where the wizard ends up on top.
But then again, the wizard is, possibly at least a trans woman.
Well, I mean, I think the wizard here represents like the wizard while imprisoned is like a thing grasping at the real power. Which wizards often are in these stories. It's like the wizard has apprehended something that is real and important and eternal, and is turning his life and the lives of everyone around him upside down in order to come closer to that power. But in this case, it's like, okay, if you do actually manage to make it over the line and become again united with that old truth, and at that point perhaps gender is no longer really an important idea,
Right.
You, maybe you are maybe you are reclaiming something that is being misused. Maybe there is some sort of, but that's always like, because when the wizard wins, it's apocalyptic, right?
Right.
With the sort of the death drive and the desire to end the world and remake it is very much common to our wizard symbol.
And it's certainly apocalyptic for the butcher here.
Yes, but it's also presumably apocalyptic for this island, because this critter is loose. And that is probably one of the reasons that the butcher needs to run away now.
Right. And like there's a reason that they had chained the wizard up in a cave in the first place. And of course, so I guess that some of this, but the thing is that a lot of the time, because like the Wizlas genre doesn't necessarily usually isn't saying we need to stop the apocalypse and save things. Often it's saying, rather than an apocalypse, we need a better change.
Yes, exactly. Like the reformer. That is the tension in so many of the Wizlas books, is the reformer versus the demagogue, the charlatan, the revolutionist.
Right. And in this case, the wizard is reclaiming something that was taken. But of course, that was also true for Belthandros.
Yes. No, 100%. And the thing about reclaiming something that's taken is that it's going to make it very uncomfortable for the people who took it, even if the people who took it in this instance are generations upon generations upon generation removed from the original crime.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons that it doesn't tend to happen. But yeah, no, this is this is a really good story.
It is.
It is. So
this is definitely the best of the three that we read.
Yes.
Shout out to Kat Weaver, who both recommended it and also edited it.
Yes, maybe tiny conflict of interest there. I don't care. This one's really good. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to what Laurie Paletti does next.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because this is
very
promising.
Obviously the author's dead, but I see in their bio that they're a veterinary student, which definitely explains some things about this story.
A lot of animal tumors.
So, but yeah, this was great.
Yeah, actually, that reminds me. One of the things that I forgot to mention is that I love that the whole, like, the sort of the business end of the unicorn's functional immortality is that they're very gross a lot of the time.
Yes!
Because they're, the process of staying alive, even though, like, horrible insults have been done to your flesh, is that you can just wander around with the belly completely full of tumors, and yet it's still alive.
Yeah.
And budding the legs and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's really good. And this has a very fine understanding of just how, the vitality of living flesh and how terrifying that can be.
Yeah, honestly, another way that makes this like a really classic Wizlas story is that, willingness to really look at how ugly immortality is. And usually when we get that, it's about what it does to your, mind and soul and heart and ability to relate to other people. But in this case, this one is really leaning into how ugly immortality would be just biologically, and that's great.
It's meatcore.
Yes.
If I can refer to it by an aesthetic that I made up myself.
I think meatcore is a great aesthetic. So we should move on, because we should talk about the third story, but is almost too bad because there's still so many other things to say about this one. Oh well. Moving on.
Now we're off to the next story, which is about a mystical tourist trap in rural Georgia. So enjoy that. Yes, the last story is the Land of the Dead and the Land of the Dead. The Door to the Land of the Dead and the Land of the Dead.
Yes.
I have no content warnings for this one.
Yeah, there's no content. I guess.
Toilet hamburger.
Yeah, I was about to say toilet hamburger.
The toilet hamburger is even still in its wrapping, so it's not even that gross.
Yeah, it's true. Wow, that's such a good metaphor for cozies, isn't it?
Yes. You're reaching into the toilet to unclog it, and what you get out is a fast food burger that is still neatly wrapped up that you can just throw in the garbage. That has not been digested at all.
Yes.
You might say.
So I will say in favor of this story that I do like when moving to Atlanta is a happy ending.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't even pick up that they mentioned what state she was in, actually.
Oh, really? Wow. Well, you can tell that one of us is from the South and one of us isn't, because I went, okay, you're halfway between Atlanta and Chattanooga, huh? I know where that is. That's by Dalton. Yes. They sell carpets there.
There you go. Yes, no, maybe maybe that helps me to appreciate it, because there is a certain sort of Southern languor about the setting.
Right. I think that what for me saved this story from being the sort of cozy that I hate is that it is so much. It's like in its place in time.
Yes.
And so I think that ends up, because it is willing to really commit to, it feels more like just a snapshot in this one person's life. And so it doesn't, it's okay that it's kind of flinching away from this stuff because the character is flinching away from anything too deep.
I mean, which makes sense to me. I mean, this is an Arrested Development story.
Right.
Our hero does not know what she wants to do with her life, and is doing this job, which is obviously not going to go anywhere for her,
right?
And needs direction, and gets it via this sort of mystical experience, which is interestingly not the mystical experience is not so much finding out what she wants. It is getting to see somebody else's fiddler's green, getting to see somebody else's heart's desire, and therefore being like, man, I should probably get one of those.
Right.
I'm not going to find it here because I'm in somebody else's heart's desire here also.
Right. I mean, it's also the sort of, she's aimless and not sure what she wants to do, and she meets this cool older queer person who has had this cool queer tragic past, and goes, oh, I can't even have a cool tragic past if I don't get out, move back to the city and do something.
Yes. Which is interesting. Another story about the perils of moving to a small town. But there is something I think that for me the coziness lived not so much in the events of the plot, but in the sort of denouement where it's like, well, maybe I can make my paper craft work, as a career. And I'm like, no, you can't. No, you can't.
Especially not in Atlanta these days, I'm afraid.
Yeah. So I appreciate the sentiment, but come on.
I wasn't sure that was actually what she was planning to do in terms of I think that the idea was that she would go and get some terrible crappy job, but also make
work on her art, which is which is also not necessarily the way to self-actualization, but hey ho.
But neither is spending forever in a small town having the less interesting of the two jobs available at the tourist trap.
No, I suppose not. Although there is something very appealing about it to me right at this moment in my life.
Honestly,
send me into exile, please.
Right. Honestly, the thing to me that made this the coziest is that every single tourist trap I have seen in near the North Georgia border has been horrifically racist, and the fact that this is so thoughtfully researched and multicultural and respectful, because otherwise Adelaide, the queer elder, would be problematic, and so for that matter would Vera for working here. To me, that felt cozy. I mean, I can believe that. I can believe that there are tourist traps in North Georgia that are less racist than say south of the border, which is actually in South Carolina. But I've never seen one that was this culturally sensitive.
Well, I mean, all it takes is one person. I mean, that is one of the things about these tourist traps, is that they are such labors of personal love and vision.
That is true. That is true.
That, you know, they often end up being extremely idiosyncratic in, you know, in whatever way. Have you been to see the thing? Have you been to see the thing? Have you been to see the thing? Question mark. It's on I-10 between El Paso and Tucson, and I highly recommend it. And this one appears to have been set up essentially as in a sort of Disco Elysium way, as a sort of a shrine to contain a hole in the world.
Yes, except instead of, you know, building a nightclub, a dance club, it's a weird tourist trap.
That's the correct thing to do under the circumstances.
I love weird tourist traps, except when they're horribly racist.
Yes, but no, we've built gravity falls around it instead of a dance club, because you can't really run a dance club in the woods like that.
No, you can't.
No, the townies aren't going to be interested.
But yeah, so I guess it was really interesting that at no point, and actually this is another way that the story kind of does a weird quasi-flinch, which is she steps into her own land of the dead and then immediately steps back before she gets, you know, goes looking for anything.
I mean, I think that was sort of the point, is that, you know, and that was the reason that she needed to leave, and the thing that gave her like the sense of needing to find herself
was knowing that nothing was going to be there, no matter what.
Yes, like but I think that, like, if the tone of this wasn't so, like, I could see there have being a sequence wherein she walked into her own land of the dead and was appalled and chastened by the void that she found there, you know.
I guess I just wanted there to be a little bit more. I guess that, you know, she wasn't scared. She was just like, oh, you know, this is a drafting board. This is a ride still in the planning stages. You know, this is something cool coming soon hung in an empty storefront window. As a result, it didn't end up feeling very motivational to me. I mean, there wasn't enough of a sense of, there wasn't quite enough emotional urgency to the moment that she stepped in her own land of the dead. Whether it could have been positive or negative, there wasn't much of a sense of potential either, especially because it ends with her being like, yeah, actually, I'm still going to stick around until the spring.
Yeah. I mean, it's sort of essentially, even though Vera is the main character of this story, Adelaide is the person who does things and knows things and says things in it.
Yeah.
And that is also true of the fact that we get some cross-generational queer history, which is always great. You know, we're passing down that hollowed symbol, the gay bar, and in this case, it's a gay bar, not a lesbian bar. There's none of that uncomfortable turfy stuff as we've run into before with nostalgia about.
But also, it has to be a gay bar because that way most of her friends can be dead.
Right. Exactly. Because this is also the old specter of AIDS is in this one as well. Yeah. And I guess that's part of what makes it feel cozy to me, is that, like, this sort of, there is a lot of pain and tragedy in this one, but it is very much at a remove of a remove.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm not saying that there is nothing that is useless. You know, I think that a comforting story has a place in the world. And I find myself almost more inclined to pick at it, though, That's the thing.
Right.
If I'm going to be comforted, I need to be comforted in a very sort of covert and tricky manner, else I'll reject it.
I think I'm willing to be comforted in a slightly more straightforward manner, perhaps, but I want that comfort to feel a little bit more earned. Like, even the fact, her girlfriend is dating someone else, and she's like, yeah, I guess I'm just kind of mopey about it. And it's like, okay, I guess we'll take you to the actual land of the dead. And she's like, oh, yeah, look at that. I would have liked the emotional resolution to feel a little bit more earned, and to do so, there has to have been a little bit more emotions in it. And even the end, she's so non-committal. She's just like, well, I think I could do this. Maybe Chattanooga, maybe back to Atlanta. I'm going to wait until the spring. It's like, are you actually ever going to make it out of here?
The metaphor that you can go into, when you go to the land of the dead, all you have to do to get out is take a single step backward.
Right.
Like, that is the opposite of how that ought to work, I think.
Right.
I don't know, all my favorite things are spiny and weird, and it's starting to stress me out. Maybe I need more of this kind of thing in my life. So yes, this one was comfortable, but I do, and like as I said, like it's very professionally done. Although there are too many semicolons.
Nothing wrong with semicolons.
Okay, we can agree to disagree about the number of semicolons, but like I think I had a nice little time with it, and then I was like,
yeah,
doesn't feel true.
yeah, exactly. But I did really appreciate how grounded it was in a place and time. That part did feel true. The setting felt true, just not like the main character or her plot.
Indeed, I agree. But yeah, I think that the most comforting idea in here to me personally is to go somewhere where that is so remote that you can get a job just by being like, I'm a warm body.
A job and a cabin.
A job and your own little cabin. I somehow don't think that's a real thing, but anyway.
There probably are still places like that. It's just you probably wouldn't actually want to live there. Among other things, the internet's probably pretty crappy still.
Oh man, well I couldn't live like that. Obviously. All right. So, do we have anything else when we want to talk about on this one?
I don't think so. I think we've said about as much as we need to for this one.
Cool. Then I'm happy to call this a podcast.
Let's call it a podcast. We're done.
Yeah. And
this time.
So, yes. And apparently we were probably going to do Aunt Tigress next.
Yes.
Which I'm looking forward to.
Yes. Which, boy, the blurbs made it sound cozy, and it is not.
I'm excited. All right. Until then.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.